Today we're going over electricity in cosmetology. Okay, there's three kinds of equipment generally used in the salon. You've got thermal, used to generate heat. All right, so think of your curling irons. You've got mechanical, something that has a motor in it. Think of your clippers. And combination, you have heat and a motor in it. Think of a blow dryer or a hood dryer. Both of those occur in there. Okay, three kinds of effect. Heating effect, okay, so they are using resistance to create heat, maybe through a blow dryer. Mechanical or magnetic, there's a push-pull effect, causes the motor to turn. That's how it works in clippers. And electrochemical effects, this is in a facial, when you're putting something on the face and then using electricity over it. Excuse me. All right, electrotherapy. Okay, this is everything we're going to talk about today up until we get to light therapy. So everything electrotherapy, using electricity to work on the skin. So there's some benefits. You can firm the skin, cleanse the skin, hydration, pushing products into the skin deeper. But there's you have to be careful that people that have problems medically, you have to do a thorough consultation and make sure that they are eligible to have these things done and that you're not going to cause harm by using this. Okay, the four kinds of electrotherapy current are galvanic, EMS, which I always knew as faradic, microcurrent, which is sinusoidal, and high frequency, which is Tesla. Now, I don't think I've ever used either of these. These two are the most popular, and these are the two that I have used. So I want to give you some tips on how to remember. Galvanic has a chemical reaction. Okay, so I want you to remember the G and the C. Faradic has a muscular component. Okay, it makes your muscles jump. So I want you to think of FM, like the radio station. And high frequency is heat. So we've got HH, we've got FM, and we've got GC. Okay? And high frequency is also known as Tesla. It's also known as the violet ray. Okay, so generally when you turn it on, it looks purple inside. The one that I'm going to show you today looks more like reddish orange inside, but that's why it's called the violet ray. You see a violet streak going through the electrode, and that's why it's called that. Okay? All right, the electrode. So an electrode is something that gets the current from the machine to the skin. So here is a glass electrode that I can put into my high frequency apparatus, or here is a metal, these are metal electrodes that can be used for the galvanic current. Okay, there's many different kinds. Okay, so metal or glass. Okay, some common electrodes. You've got the comb electrode, the wrist electrode, which looks like this. You just clamp it on your wrist, okay? You've got the rake, which looks like this, carbon, and a massage roller, which looks like this, okay? They reduce the current. You don't want to use the current just as it comes out of the outlet. It's too strong for the skin, so it's reduced down to milliamperes. Okay, you don't want to use amperes, amps, you want to use milliamps. Okay, contraindication, that just always means something that says you should not be doing this procedure. So because it's electricity, you don't want to use this with pregnancy, a heart condition or pacemaker, epilepsy, high blood pressure, open cuts, abrasions, or sores, if they're diabetic, if they have dilated capillaries, that's called cuperose. So you don't want to use it over when you see all those little red capillaries in people's cheeks. and if they have any metal plates, pins in the body, or they have braces. Okay, again, all things that you would not want to use this with. All right, galvanic current. Again, it has a chemical effect. You can see that right there. It's the oldest form of electrotherapy, and it has a special appliance that converts it from AC to DC. This is the only one that is a direct current. So it's the same as your computer. You plug it into the wall, which is AC. It's converted with a rectifier into DC, and that's what current it uses. Okay, this is the one that I like the best in cosmetology. Even though it's the oldest, it's very effective. Okay, so you have a negatively and positively charged electrode. So your cathode is black. Okay, so think of a black cat. A lot of people think that if a black cat crosses their path, that's very negative. It's a negative occurrence. And your anode is red, which is positive. Okay? If they're not visibly marked like this, you can test for polarity. So for instance, this one has a red cord, so this would be our positive. This has both, but you can see the black there. This would be our negative. Okay? But then what if we have one that looks like this and it's all white? What do? Well, if we know that this one is a positive and this one is a negative, what we could do is we can put them into water together and we can test it. So let me see if it says this on the next one. When you have the negative will produce more bubbles and they'll be smaller. Okay, so say if I take a positive electrode and I put it in there and these react the same way, then I know this is positive. If on the other hand I put a negative electrode in there and this one has smaller and more bubbles, then I know it's negative. Okay, phoresis. This is forcing an acid or an alkali into the skin by applying current to the chemical. Now the cool thing is you don't have to be a chemist and know all these things. Generally speaking, when you buy a skincare line, it's going to say something like, you can use this product with negative galvanic current for 3 minutes, or you can use this one with positive galvanic current. So they're going to tell you those things because most times we're not going to know if it's an acid or an alkali. We're not going to know exactly how to use that. Okay, it's referred to as bleaching the skin. Not sure why that is. Okay, this gets a little tricky. It makes your head hurt a little bit. So let me draw a little person up here. Okay, so Sally came and she's going to get a treatment done. And we're going to use the negative electrode on Sally's face, and we're going to have Sally hold the positive electrode. Okay, and these both go to a machine. And what happens is when you have these two electrodes, the electricity is going to go through the body from one electrode to the other. Okay, in this case, Sally is holding the positive electrode, so that is anaphoresis. Okay, even though the negative pole is being used on her skin. So you always identify it by the one that they're holding. If this was the opposite and she was holding the negative and the positive was being used on her skin, we would then call this cataphoresis. It's always identified by the one that it's going to. So it's going into the skin here and it's coming out here. That's how the electricity is being directed. Okay? So why do we want to use this? Well, this is amazing. So if you do anaphoresis, so you start with a negative pole, always start with a negative, you're going to open up pores, you're going to soften the skin. Suppose you need to do a lot of blackhead removal. Okay, this is going to really prep the skin. Then you can go ahead and do your extractions, do everything you need to do, and then when you're all done, you can use cataphoresis on it and it will close the pores and it will reharden the skin. Okay? There's another part of this where it will actually liquefy the sebum, okay? And this is called disincrustation, which I think is just amazing. Disincrustation. So it's taking it and it's making it softer so it's easier to remove from the skin. All right, so you're going to apply the active electrode to the client, tell them to hold the inactive electrode, and you're always going to wrap everything in moist cotton. And again, never more than 2 milliamperes, okay? So everything you're going to take, I like to use gauze. So with this wrist electrode, I would wrap gauze around here and use a rubber band to hold it on. Okay, these electrodes, the same thing. I'm going to wrap damp cotton or gauze around them and use a rubber band to hold it in place. Okay, you don't use it directly onto the skin. All right, EMS, which is faradic. Remember, that's mechanical. So this is going to make your muscles contract. All right, so improve blood circulation, improve muscle tone, stimulation of hair growth, increase glandular activity. Okay, so it's an alternating current. It's not direct. Galvanic's the only direct one. And I think of this as more of something maybe you use when you go to the chiropractor, and it causes your muscles to have that, you know, that feels like that they're jumping. Okay. Okay, the indirect method. The salon professional wears the wristband. Okay, it's moistened. You have the client hold the second one, and then you just start doing your massage. Okay, and the current is going to travel between the electrode that you have and the electrode that the person is holding through your fingers. That's what's connecting with them. So that's where the current's going to be going through into the person's face. Okay? Make sure that you have your hands on the face, turn it on. Before you're all done, turn it off, and then remove your fingers. Okay, the direct method says not used too often. You're going to put both electrodes on their skin and make sure they don't touch, but what's going to happen is the current's going to pass between the two, and it's going to cause muscle stimulation. So you're going to get a more direct effect there. Okay, microcurrent or sinusoidal. Okay, again, it has a mechanical effect. It uses the indirect method. It penetrates more deeply and has greater stimulation. Again, alternating, not direct current. Okay, high frequency. Okay, this one we use all the time. So let me see if I can plug this in. So I've got my high frequency unit here. This is one that you would use for a scalp treatment. We also have it for doing facials. Okay, if I hold this behind it, you can see it a little bit better. This, like I said, usually it's violet. This one happens to be red or orangish red, okay? When you are using this, you generally put it on the person's skin, then turn it on, use it, turn it off, and then remove it. If you want a stimulating effect, you're going to turn it on and you're going to hold it at a distance. This is good for helping to clear up pimples, okay, if you have a breakout. Okay, you can hear that little reaction. Now, a general way to do it where the electrode isn't quite touching the skin is what you see here with this gauze. Even though it's just infinitesimal, it's still not touching the skin and you're still going to get a slightly stimulating effect from it. Okay? Again, it's known as Tesla, the violet ray. Okay, so it can be relaxing or it can be stimulating. Okay, so if I put it directly on the client's face, that's going to be more relaxing. Indirect is similar to that other one where the client can hold the electrode and then I massage and I can start to feel the electric current coming through my fingertips to their skin. The third one is just general electrification where they just hold the electrode. Okay, indirect, using that little bit of gauze, is great for dry skin and scalp. Direct application is great for acne, blackheads, and just a general scalp treatment. So there's uses for both of them. All right, electrotherapy precautions. Don't let the electrodes touch each other. Don't exceed 2 milliamperes. Galvanic treatment should only be 4 to 7 minutes. Microcurrent, not more than 30. Okay, high frequency, 5 minutes for direct, 8 to 15 for indirect. Make sure that the client isn't contacting metal. Make sure it has no alcohol. Alcohol is a insulator, plus it could cause, a spark could cause a flammable reaction. Turn the current on only after the client is holding the electrode, and turn it off before you remove the electrode or they stop holding it. All right, heat. Heat moves from a hotter body to a cooler body. Okay, so there's a couple ways that this can happen. Direct contact, so we feel something warm, maybe like the mitts that we put our hands into when we have paraffin wax. Convection through liquid or gas, and radiation through a vacuum. So I put infrared light on, beaming on my head, and I feel the warmth through empty space. Okay, mild heat relaxes people, increases blood circulation. Intense heat destroys cells and tissues. So we never want to do that. Okay, so now we're talking about light therapy. We're no longer on electrotherapy. Now it's all about lights. Okay, so we're going to talk about wavelengths here a little bit. Okay, so long wavelengths are down here around infrared. Okay, you can see there's a bigger gap between that than there is between that. And these wavelengths are things like your TV. Up here could be things like X-rays. Okay, this could be if I put an infrared lamp on someone for a treatment. This could be ultraviolet light, tanning bed. Okay, in between here is what we can see with our eyes. We cannot see this, and we cannot see this. Okay, lasers can remove blood vessels, excessive hair, tattoos, wrinkles. Pretty amazing little gadget. The LED devices, light emitting diode, if it's blue light, it reduces acne. Red increases circulation. Yellow reduces inflammation, and green reduces hyperpigmentation when you get those brown spots from the sun. IPL, intense pulse light, is used to treat spider veins, wrinkles, hyperpigmentation, excessive hair, and rosacea. Now I've gone in and had a laser treatment for both spider veins and hyperpigmentation on my face, so this is probably what they were using on me. Okay, visible light, again, what we can see. The only way we can see color is by light hitting an object, and it's either absorbed or reflected off of it. So think of a trail cam when you see pictures from that and everything's washed out and it's the same color. That's because there's no light. That's why we can't see color. All right, so that is what we can see. White light, of course, is then broken up into a prism. Okay, and we get Roy G. Biv. Okay, the part of the light spectrum we can see: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Then down here we have infrared. Okay, remember we can't see that. It's past the visible spectrum. And up here we have ultraviolet. Again, cannot see it. We can feel the heat from infrared, and we can see what ultraviolet does when we burn or tan, but we can't physically see that. Okay? Violet rays are the shortest, so think about if you've ever been in a tanning bed and you close the lid. It's about 12 inches away from your face. That's how close it has to be to work. When you're using an infrared lamp in cosmetology, it has to be 30 inches away from your head or whatever's being worked on. So think about the length of your arm. That's how far the lamp has to be away. All right, in your beauty shop, if you have fluorescent light, okay, that's going to make people's hair look more green or blue. Okay, it's going to make it ashy. Incandescent light that most people have in their homes is going to make their hair look more red. And this is true for makeup too. LED, you can get that in like a soft white, a harsh white, things like that, bright white. This is amazing. These last about 20,000 hours. These last about 1,000. These are a little bit more expensive, but you operate them for pennies a day compared to these. These take a lot more energy to operate. Okay, the ideal beauty shop would have some fluorescent light, some incandescent or LED. I wouldn't recommend this. This will be too expensive, but LED light. And it would have some natural sunlight coming in. So you would have a mix of all three, and that would give you a true reading on color. Okay, again, invisible light, not visible. Over half of sunlight is composed of invisible rays beyond red, and then a small percentage is invisible rays beyond violet. Infrared lamp or infrared light, increased circulation, increases skin gland secretions, relaxes muscles, stimulates cell. Okay, eye pads or protective eye forms have to cover the client's eyes, especially if it's on their face. And if you are increasing skin gland secretions, then this would be good for someone that had dry skin. Okay, ultraviolet light, okay, can be more damaging than infrared. I mean, that makes sense. We all know that. When you're using this, both you and the client have to have goggles on. Small doses can tan the skin, helps you produce vitamin D. That's very important that you have vitamin D. Kills bacteria, promotes healing, is used in treatment of acne. If you've ever suffered from acne in the summer when you go out in the sun, your acne tends to clear up. Okay, it's killing bacteria and it's helping to heal that. Negative effects, you can get sunburn, damage your eyes, damage your hair. You end up with wrinkling, sagging, skin, you get the hyperpigmentation, all that. Okay, check what you know. Thermal equipment is used to generate heat. True. Electrochemical effects are created when electric current travels through a chemical-based solution. False. The conductor used to bring current from the appliance to the client's skin, like this, is an electrode. The direct current that causes a chemical effect, remember what goes with the C is the G, galvanic. The process of forcing acid or alkali solutions into the skin, this starts with a pH, phoresis. An alternating current, which produces a mechanical reaction, is known as EMS, or remember faradic, FM, faradic and mechanical. An alternating current with a mechanical effect is the microcurrent. This one's just a little bit more stimulating than this one. An alternating current that can be adjusted to produce heat would be your high frequency. Remember H and H, heat and high frequency. Three methods of application are general electrification, direct and indirect. And when using ultraviolet light, the salon professional and the client should both wear protective eyewear. Okay, thank you.